Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. It is 2:11 on the East Coast and 11:11 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here for the next several hours to bring you all of your top stories, live events, and breaking news. We'll, of course, get back to our 4th of July coverage of various parades that are happening all over the country, leading, of course, to tonight's fireworks celebrations. But I do want to take you out to some breaking news that we are following at this hour as we take a live look over Kerr County, that is there in Texas. Now, we do know at 3 p.m. Eastern time, so in less than an hour, the acting Texas governor, Dan Patrick, is going to give an update on the extreme flooding in that location. Now, you are taking a live look, as I mentioned, over Kerr County, Texas. That is about 90 miles northwest of San Antonio. And again, you can see that extreme flooding in that location as I pop up a live look at our XRAD radar system. And that is what folks in that area are dealing with. Kerr County Judge Rob Kelly confirming to our Fox San Antonio affiliate that at least 6 people have died from the catastrophic flood. But Kelly added the death toll is sadly expected to rise. These are reports that are coming in here. There's one of an entire RV park in Ingram being swept downstream with families still inside. We also have another live image from nearby that is coming in from our affiliates in that location. The sheriff saying that his office and other local and state agencies have responded to dozens of calls and rescues as this is considered, quote, an extremely active scene. He added that people living near creeks, streams, and the Guadalupe River need to be at higher ground. I do want to talk more about all of this as we do have these developing details coming in. Pat Vesper is meteorologist-in-charge at the National Weather Service office for Austin and San Antonio. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Oh, thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
Of course. And first off, I did want to ask you here, what is the state of the situation that's been seen there over in Kerr County, Texas? Again, we've seen investigators and law enforcement saying, sadly, that lives have been lost.
Well, our focus has been on the weather, and so I can kind of give you a lead in of what happened on that. Yesterday, as early as yesterday afternoon, we saw near record levels of moisture in the atmosphere, and so that prompted our office to issue a flood watch that included Kerr County at 1:18 in the afternoon. Then later in the evening, that flood watch was expanded to include other counties as well. And then at 1:14 in the morning, we issued a flash flood warning that included central Kerr County, and then it ramped up from there. By 4 o'clock, just after 4 o'clock, we issued a flash flood emergency that included south central Kerr County, and then we focused on expanding that flash flood emergency down the Guadalupe River. And so, as the rains developed, when we look at the areas in Kerr County, 8 to 10 inches of rain fell. That affected both the south and the north forks of the Guadalupe River and where they came together near the community of Hunt, Texas, right along the Guadalupe. That's where the first major indications at a spot where we have a gauge was shown. And then, obviously downstream on the Guadalupe, you have Kerrville and the community of Comfort as well.
And that's actually where this live image is coming from. This is technically, according to our affiliate, Hunt, Texas, at this hour. As you can see, crews flying overhead. There's a lot of activity here. As far as conditions over the next several hours here, what are we expecting? Is the rain going to continue? Because in the live image there, you can still see the rain is coming down.
Yes, you can see that rain, but what you're seeing now is much less than what occurred earlier overnight and early this morning. So what we're expecting would be a downward trend as we go through the day. So we do have that flash flood emergency out until 3 p.m. For Kerr County. We will confer with emergency managers and other key responders to see what the situation is like as we approach 3 p.m. to determine what type of follow-up flash flood warning we'll issue. But then the flood watch itself goes until 7 p.m. Central Time. So we expect a decreasing trend overall, maybe some redevelopment overnight, but it may not be in the same area. It could be further south, and it certainly will not be of the magnitude that you're seeing with what occurred overnight and this morning in Kerr County and surrounding counties.
And I did want to point that out because we showed you the live image from Hunt, but right here we do have this video out of Kerr County that was taken overnight. As you mentioned, the water much higher there, the rain, though, still coming down. I did want to ask you, and you kind of touched on this, but a flash flood emergency, what is that? How does it differ from maybe some kind of flood warning?
Well, that's a great question. We live in an area here that's one of the most flood-prone areas in the entire country, and so there are many floods that occur, and a lot of times you'll see flooding that's on a smaller magnitude. Maybe it will last a shorter amount of time, and it might be considered more of if there's a term for it, like a more normal flash flood occurring in an area. But once in a while, you get an event that rises to the level of being something that a person may not see in a decade or 2 decades, something that could be catastrophic. And this morning, as the rains began to fall, we determined that this event certainly fell into that category as being catastrophic. The last time we've seen flooding this significant along the Guadalupe River was the flood of 1987, and then we have other major floods that have occurred in previous years, 1978 back to 1932. These are the types of events that people remember for a lifetime, and they're terrible events. And but just to give you an idea, the crest at Kerrville today was at 36.58 feet, and that is basically a rise on the river level there of about 36 feet. And the record, comparing it to 1987, the crest in Kerrville for that major event was 37.72, just a foot higher than the level you're seeing today. So it's really a terrible event. My heart goes out to all those families affected, and we wish best of luck to the emergency responders that are trying to save people's lives today.
And I did want to ask you here before I let you go, overall, to folks who are living in this area, I mentioned when we brought you in here that it was important if you are living over there that you are at higher ground if you're near the water. But what advice, what message do you want to get across to the people who are there in this area now?
Well, I think it's very important you stay away from the river. Try to stay in a safe place. Don't venture out. Don't go looking at the flooding or anything like that. I think you just want to stay in a safe home and just wait this thing out. And then, as we get into better weather, then resume normal activities.
All right, Pat, thank you again for taking the time to join us here. Anything else that you want to add about any of this here before I let you go?
I guess the only other thing that I would mention would be that, some areas are still going to be impacted along the Guadalupe River. So downstream, even as it gets past the community of Comfort, then we start looking along the Guadalupe River at Spring Branch, that area, where we're expecting the crest to be approximately 34 feet and to occur sometime between midnight and 3 a.m. So the event's not over. It's still ongoing, and I just wish everyone luck and be thinking about all those people affected, and again the emergency responders that are doing a great job helping people out today.
All right. Thank you again for all that you're doing as well and your office there. Pat Vesper with the National Weather Service, San Antonio and Austin. You guys do have a large area, so thank you so much.
Oh, we appreciate it. You take care.
And I do want to take you out to this live image once again that we do have coming in. This is a camera that is pointed there over at Kerr County. We do have another camera that you saw a bit earlier that did show the area around Hunt, Texas. I do want to pop that up, but As you can see right now, the camera is moving as it looks like roads have been kind of washed away in that location. But there's also a heavy law enforcement presence, first responders there as they do work rescue operations and work to get people evacuated as the rain, though, is still coming down. I do want to take you out to this post that we have coming in from Governor Greg Abbott there over in Texas. He posted, "The state of Texas is surging all available resources to respond to the devastating flooding around the Kerr County area. That includes water rescue teams, sheltering centers, the National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety. The immediate priority is saving lives." We have Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, who is now speaking. He's the acting governor of Texas right now, and he's speaking about deadly flooding that happened in that area. So I do want to move on to that, as that is happening live here right on our screens.
5 minutes. It was a dry bed. It had been dry. There wasn't a lot to absorb it. It went down the rocks. And it was a destructive flood, taking property and, sadly, lives. I know that there are anxious parents watching, wanting information. We have the best rescue teams and response teams in the world in emergencies. Currently, we have 14 helicopters in the air. I've been receiving calls on my personal cell from people who know someone or have someone that was in one of these summer camps. We do not need anyone showing up with a drone. We do not need any more personal helicopters. I know it's been offered. We do not need more additional air assets. We have 14 choppers in the air. It gets dangerous even with that many flying. So I know some of you have said, oh, we can be there, we can help. We do not need any more helicopters or drones flying in the area. We have 14 choppers, as I said, 12 drones, 9 rescue teams, swimmers in the water, rescuing adults and children out of trees. We have 400 to 500 people on the ground from all of our various units, and Freeman Martin, our director of DPS, can talk about the various units who are there. For the parents who are waiting, particularly that had children in Camp Mystic. Camp Mystic is a camp that has over 750 kids. Right now, there are 20-some that aren't accounted for. That does not mean they've been lost. They could be in a tree. They could be out of communication. We're praying for all of those missing to be found alive. We're doing everything we can to get in there. We have the game wardens. You were the colonel of the game wardens, Pete, walking in by foot, driving, dropping in the water, whatever we can do to find everyone we can. That camp is divided into 2 banks. For those of you, parents who have children at Camp Mystic, this is a notice they sent out. They know all of the names of the parents, all the email addresses, all the phone calls, all the cell numbers so they can make the calls. Their following message: we have sustained catastrophic level of flooding. We have no power, water, or Wi-Fi. All Cypress Lake campers are accounted for. So if your child was in Cypress Lake, that camp is divided into certain areas. All Cypress Lake campers are accounted for. All campers on Senior Hill are accounted for. If your daughter is not accounted for, you have been notified from the camp. If you have not been personally contacted, then your daughter has been accounted for. I want to repeat that. And this is not from the state, not from the government. This is from the camp director on the ground. If you have not been personally contacted, then your daughter is accounted for. Instead of telling 700 or 800 parents your daughter is accounted for, they're calling those parents with the news that their daughter is not accounted for yet. They're working with the search and rescue with the state, obviously, and I know I've had parents I have 8 grandchildren. I know if it was one of my children, I would be tempted to want to drive there from Houston as well. But we're asking people to stay away from the areas. There's flooding in many roads are impassable, major roads, minor roads. And once we're able to get some of those roads clear, when the rain stops, then we have 10 buses ready to go in and pick up the kids, and we'll find a point and announce it at that time where you can be reunited with your child and hug them hard, because you know they're frightened. But again, out of the over 700, we have the number of about 23 not accounted for. Yesterday, Jay Hall, who is Region Director 6, personally contacted the judges and the mayors in that area and notified them all of potential flooding. This storm, we had an area bracketed from San Angelo to Waco, down to San Antonio, Kerrville, all the areas. Not exactly sure where it would land. Some forecasts started coming together late, showing where it might land. But yesterday morning, the message was sent. It is up to the local counties and mayors under the law to evacuate if they feel a need. But that information was passed along. Because we were unsure of where the storm might land, Nim Kid, who is on the ground there, I'm heading to Kerrville after this, and I will join out there at the emergency center. We started moving assets in various areas, not knowing where it would be, but in various areas on Friday, so that in the event, wherever the storm hit and wherever the flooding occurred, if it was flooding, that we would be on the ground as close as we could be, as fast as we could be. This is an area that has lots of camps, thousands of children throughout those camps, especially in the summertime on the 4th of July weekend. The main area that we have heard from so far is the Camp Mystic area. We have not had reports from other camps at this point of a loss, but that does not mean there has not been. We just have not had any report. There have been confirmed deaths. That number changes, and the one thing I've learned in this position over many disasters that Governor Abbott or I have had to cover, the first news is always not the correct news. And you always pray for it being better. But I'm not going to give exact numbers, but we don't have exact numbers, but somewhere between 6 and 10 bodies have been found, some in cars that were washed down upstream that came down into the area. Some are adults, some are children. Again, we don't know where those bodies came from, and was it from a camp? Was it from one of the many homes that are all along the Guadalupe River? We just obviously don't know that at this time. I want to turn it over to our Director, Freeman Martin, to talk about our response from DPS and the other agencies.
Governor, thank you. This is it's a tragic event. It's going to be a mass casualty event. We know that. We prepared. We moved resources into the area. This is a Texas response. This is not DPS. This is the Texas Military Department, Texas Department of Public Management. We have Parks and Wildlife. We have every local agency in the area. We're working hand in hand with the Kerr County Sheriff, the San Antonio Police Department, really the San Antonio region. There were many, many cities and law enforcement agencies and first responders self-deployed. So we have plenty of resources on the ground. Lieutenant Governor mentioned over 500 boots on the ground. Texas DPS alone, we have over 100 troopers, agents, and rangers on the ground. We have 7 helicopters. We're supported by 5 TMD helicopters and 2 Parks and Wildlife helicopters. We have planned for shifts. We're going to work throughout the night. So when we started this at 4 o'clock in the morning, we've been working this all day. We've got a B shift and a C shift that are going to come in and relief, so there won't be a gap in the search and rescue operations. But the governor said it accurately, is there's too many unknowns, and there's information that sometimes it sounds conflicting. You have a report that there's 20 people missing from one camp. and then you have a report that everybody's accounted for. Well, there's 2 camps that are split with the same name. So we don't want to get in front of that. It's taken some time to get in there. With all the resources we have, as bad as the storm was this morning, our helicopters had a hard time getting in. And so a lot of people that were cut off, they were counted as missing. They don't have self-service or electricity, but they're on high ground and they're safe. So we have gotten to several of these where there's as many as 200 in one location. We're able to bring in food and water and supplies to them. It's just taking time to get them out of there. At the same time, there's other camps where we know their people are missing, and there's search and rescue operations going on. Parks and Wildlife using their boat teams, some of our tactical marine assets. They go as far as they can go, and then they go on foot the rest of the way. So it's not easy, but we're making progress and hope to have better numbers later this afternoon. As the Lieutenant Governor said, we'll be on the ground here shortly with our first responders there in Kerrville. I know there's reunification centers stood up, one in Ingram at the elementary school at 125 West Brave Run in Ingram. There's another one at the Arcadia Live Center on Walter Street in Kerrville. And then there's media staging at the Hill Country Youth Event Center in Kerrville, where there'll be a media press event later on. A couple of things. Lieutenant Governor said we don't need any more first responders. We don't need anybody to self-deploy. We don't need any more drones or helicopters. We don't need people just showing up. This is a very coordinated response. Stay away from the area. If you can, stay home with your families. That's the right thing to do, to stay out of this area. There's working with TxDOT. We know there's over 85 locations that have been impacted by high water, and at least 25 roads shut down. Right now, the rain has let up, but we know there's another wave coming, and then there's going to be some more impact downstream later tonight and tomorrow that we're concerned about. So we'll continue to work with locals. We're also doing rescue operations and evacuation operations in Tom Green County and Kimball County. We're concerned about San Saba downriver, so there will be more notifications coming out. If you're asked to evacuate, please evacuate. If you are on a roadway and you see water, you have no idea how deep that water is or how swift it is. Stop, turn around. Do not try to cross water if you don't know, you can't tell how deep it is. But the best advice is stay home. And I know y'all want numbers. I wish we had numbers. Those numbers change frequently. Like I said, some people are reporting as missing, and they're not missing. They were evacuated. They're safe. They just didn't. No family member is concerned not knowing where they are. So, with that, Governor, I'll turn it back over to you.
I do want to mention before I turn it over to Pete that I was in touch with the governor early this morning with Senator Ted Cruz. We've been in touch. I've tried to reach out to the sheriff, or not tried, reached out to the sheriff and the county judge in Kerr County, and understandably, they're busy, not answering their phone. They're getting a lot of calls from a lot of people, but that's why we're going down there. But we are in touch between our departments. We are in touch with them. We've had multiple calls from the White House today. I've talked to several people at the White House. The president has sent the message, whatever we need, we will have. We are sending in the Army Corps of Engineers. It's one of the requests we made to look at the dam at Canyon Lake to make sure that dam holds. I just had a meeting with them before I came out here. I said, is the dam safe? And they said, it is safe, sir. I said, safe tomorrow? It is safe, sir. I said, well, if anything changes on that, you call me on speed dial immediately. But right now, the Army Corps believes that dam will hold and is safe as we sit here today. We're also expecting more rain and potential flash flooding to the Waco area, San Antonio, Austin, overnight. That would not be, that would be localized flooding where, as the director said, you don't want to be driving in deep water. We could have heavy rain in those areas. But even in the Kerrville area, even if it's not a heavy rain, just a few inches of rain is going to only make the situation worse. Let me turn it over to Senator Pete Flores, who represents that area, along with House Member West Verdell, who reached out to me earlier today. I know he's from Brady. I don't know if he's waterlocked or not, because some of those roads are cut off. But we appreciate him reaching out. Senator Flores.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for allowing me to be here, and thank you all for being here. And the first comment I make is prayers for our affected Texans, and to make sure that they come out of this event with their lives. And for the first responders that are out there, especially the local ones who were there first, we want to always recognize that they mostly voluntarily step up for their fellow citizens, and are the first ones there and the last ones to leave. My role is to work with the governor and work with the state agencies to make sure that our affected areas get what they need. And thank God we are in Texas, because Texas is well prepared to do this. And my previous life was as a game warden, so as a colonel game warden, so I've responded to many of these emergencies over the years and hurricanes, and know what's happening and what's fixing to happen. It's basically we're in the search and rescue part. That's what's most important, and for all of us to remember is that this first 24 to 48 hours is search and rescue and saving as many lives as we can and recovering as much of our fellow Texans that we can. So as we do that, we thank you very much for your support of our first responders and that are out in the field at this moment as we speak, and we will continue to move forward to ensure that the most successful outcome that we can possibly do happens. And again, thank God we're in Texas, because that makes it more probable.
A website, disaster.texas.gov, for those watching if you want to keep up with reports, disaster.texas.gov. Before I open up for questions, I want the parents out there who are watching, who are unsure, because they're just unsure. But the parents who got calls from Camp Mystic, where they said your daughter is not accountable at this point, or not accounted for at this point, I want all of you to know we will do everything humanly possible 24/7, looking at every tree, turning over every rock, whatever it takes, if your child is one of those truly missing and not just out of touch, to find your daughter. We will do everything humanly possible to find your daughter or son. And we say daughter because Camp Mystic is a girls' camp, and that's where we've had a number unaccounted for. 20-some was the last count before I came out. And again, that could change while we were sitting here. Make no mistake, we will do everything possible. The 500 people that are in the field are looking for your daughter. Questions?
Governor, you talked about how fast this rain came and how fast
Yes.
the channel filled up. Do you know if they got any lead time at all out on site, and were people able to get out of there before the rains hit?
So the weather forecasts were all over the map, from a few inches to possible flooding. And I had my first contact, I believe the governor left the state Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not exactly sure, but I had a contact on Wednesday of potential heavy rain, potential weather, somewhere in a very large area of Texas. And so that was the first contact. And then on yesterday, I guess it was Thursday, there was a 10 o'clock weather call, and that call goes out every day at 10 o'clock, and judges and mayors are invited to be on the call.
That's AM, right?
10 a.m., yes, sir. And so that call was put out. And then just to double down, again, I mentioned Jay Hall, the region director. He went out personally and made sure everyone on the local officials were aware there could be flooding. And it could have gone somewhere else. The storm could have moved 20 miles somewhere else. But everything was done to give them a heads up that you could have heavy rain, and we're not exactly sure where it's going to land. Obviously, as it got dark last night, we got into the wee morning of the hours. That's when the storm started to zero in. Another question?
Lieutenant Governor, do you anticipate, or do you know if there will be any sort of curfew put into place?
I don't. That would be up to the local officials. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I don't think people are roaming around out there. The water's pretty high. Yes. Another question?
Can you give us a timeline on when the deployment first happened that you were describing earlier? Was it last night?
The first calls we got into TDEM and Nim Kid, who would normally be here, he's on site there in Kerrville. He drove there earlier this morning. They had pre-positioned equipment and people in the event it would be close to somewhere it landed. You know, they may have to move 10 or 15 miles, but they had already pre-positioned, not knowing if it was going to be a light rain, a medium rain, or heavy rain. But there were surely multiple forecasts. And this morning, it's my understanding, Director, that at 4 a.m. we started getting the first calls and response calls. Is that correct?
That's correct. We actually started moving resources a couple of days ago, and for us, it's a holiday weekend, so there are no days off for troopers, agents, and rangers. Law enforcement, we work the holidays, but starting 2 days ago, we started moving aircraft and strategically placing some boat teams with Parks and Wildlife in coordination with TDEM. And so, but the thing is, we didn't know Menard, Kerrville, San Antonio. You know, so we stage them in the San Antonio area for the most part. But
yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming. We will update you as we have more information. Again, disaster.texas.gov. You know, we always say in these situations, you know, thoughts and prayers. I'm asking the people of Texas, do some serious praying this afternoon, on your knees kind of praying, that we find these young girls and that they're only unaccounted for because they're somewhere that we don't know yet, but that they're alive and safe, and we will find them. If they're alive and safe, we will find them and bring them home to you. So please pray for these families tonight and this afternoon. Thank you all very much.
Are you leaving now to go to the...
Yes, sir.
All right, and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick there saying that he is now headed over to Kerr County to take a look at some of that damage, as we are told that the rescue efforts are expected to continue all throughout the night. As you heard, somewhere between 6 and 10 deaths have been reported here. Sadly, they do say that number could continue to rise as more bodies are recovered. They also say that 23 people from one camp, all children, of course, are quote unquote unaccounted for, but they are looking into that at this point, and they are hoping for a good outcome. Again, they will work through the night as those search efforts do continue, with 14 aircraft and 400 to 500 personnel out there working this situation. All right, so officials there in Kerr County are also holding a news conference at the same time right now. I do want to lift up the audio and listen in to that.
Is to give you information as soon, as quickly, and as accurately as we can. I want to say another time, thank you to all the dedicated men and women from so many different agencies who are here to help. City crews, county crews, and state crews are working extremely hard to help in this situation. I want the public to know we are doing everything we can to rescue those who are in peril and to find those who are missing. Now I'd like to call on City Manager Dalton Rice.
Thank you, Mayor Herring. Dalton Rice, the City Manager for the City of Kerrville. I really want to appreciate and thank everybody for their patience. We know that this is a lot going on. We know that some of the times have changed. As I said before in the previous briefing, this situation has evolved very quickly, and it's still actively going on. So I want to kind of share a couple things. We have what we know, we have what we don't know, and we have what we don't know we don't know. And so we're continuously working through this process. Kind of just a real quick brief history of what happened on the timeline this morning. The North and South Fork, which feed into the Guadalupe, hit peaks about 3 a.m., give or take. Don't quote me on my times, but somewhere around 3:30, 3 a.m. I was on the river trail at that time, and everything was fine. Within an hour to hour and a half to 2 hour period, it was up almost to the bridge. So it rose very quickly, very significantly. We even had crews, out just getting ready for the 4th of July event, and we could not anticipate this. Despite flood warnings, despite everything going on, there were some things that happened very fast. When those two rivers converged, or two forks converged, it created obviously a large flood event. In that, because of the early morning hours and because of the holiday weekend or holiday time period, those were not yet awake, and there was a lot of people that were sleeping. And so as we are going through the camps, we are still trying to figure out where people are, what's going on, and how to best serve those. So again, thank you for your patience. I'm going to throw a lot of information out to you guys as far as shelters. We do have multiple shelters set up. Shriner University Event Center at 2100 Memorial Boulevard. First United Methodist Church at 321 Thompson Drive. Calvary Temple Church, 3000 Loop 534. Notre Dame Catholic Church, 929 Main Street. We also have a donation center located. You can call the Red Cross. They are not quite set up as far as donations yet. However, Cross Kingdom at 3044 Jet Highway, 830-367-3480 is taking donations, so please contact them if there's any donations out there. We are working on getting a volunteer set up, so we understand that a lot of people want to help, a lot of people want to provide their assets and their time, but please bear with us while we get a number and get a volunteer coordinator set up. So if you want to help, give us some time. We are currently still actively rescuing, so we are not quite into recovery mode yet. We are still actively trying to find those that are out and those that are needing assistance. A couple utility updates. KPUB, Kerrville Public Utility Board, our electric co-op. We have about 2,800 customers that still remain without power. Damage assessments are ongoing. We are having obviously some still active flooding and some road closures that are impacting KPUB operations. We do have some other sites that are currently underwater still. So we do not have an estimated time for restoration. That will be delayed. Again, stay away from down power lines. If you think it's a line, just stay away from it. You can report outages 24/7 on the Smart Hub app, online at kpub.com, or 855-959-2496. We will be moving EOC about 1800 at some point. We also, as far as water, we did have a couple water main breaks that are being resolved. Some of the floods and flooding damage has caused some water main breaks. So we do have crews out there to identify those breaks as well. If you do not have to be on the road, please stay off the roads. Let emergency vehicles pass. We've had some issues with emergency vehicles not being able to get to their locations or to get to the places that they're trying to rescue people or save people. This will go into the evening. We plan on working around the clock. Our next operational period will start, and we'll continue to get information out to y'all in a timely manner. So without that, I will turn it back over to Clint. Thank you.
Thank you, Dalton. Okay, that's going to about conclude what we're doing for this event. Our next communication, we're estimating for about 7 to 7:30 this evening. We urge the public to continue to monitor our social media channels for the Kerr County Sheriff's Office, as well as Kerr County, the City of Kerrville, and that will help you see the most recent information that we have, especially about what we need you to do to stay safe. Thank you very much.
How many missing from Camp Mystic? Is there any Spanish?
The Lieutenant Governor says that mayors and county judges were warned about possible flooding. Did that warning come through?
All right, so it does appear that officials there in Kerr County, Texas, are not answering questions right now, but that could change during the next briefing that is slated for later on tonight. We'll, of course, keep you updated on what information comes out of that. But again, as of now, officials there, including Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, do confirm at least 6 people have died. They say that number could be even higher right now, but they are working to identify bodies, and rescue crews are also working to save lives there and do expect to work all throughout the night. Now, at this point, 23 children from one camp are considered to be quote unquote unaccounted for, but officials say they are working to find all of those children.